You know what they say in the CPU business when it's on? They say, it's on. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
In the CPU business, when you're failing, hire people that you used to have employed.
Yeah. Intel has made some very interesting hiring decisions as of late that look like they're going to heat up competition in the CPU market. In other news today, we've got, oh man, this is not going to be a very interesting show today, but Google has threatened to pull out of Australia over a new link tax. That's right, they will not be putting any dingo in Australia's baby.
Oh my goodness. Also, NVIDIA is sort of killing the Max-Q and Max-P branding, thank goodness. Also,
no, it's not good news. That's not good news. We'll talk about that. No, it's terrible.
Oh, geez.
It's actually way worse. It's worse than ever before.
Oh, boy, that's exciting. Also, Raspberry Pi Foundation launches a $4 Pi Pico.
$4. Imagine that, a $4 computer. Well, you know what are you wasting your time imagining that for? I know I told you to imagine it, but you got to have a mind of your own. You got to think about if you're supposed to imagine it or not. You don't have to imagine it because it's real. Just like the intro is real.
Yeah. What is reality, though?
Reality? It's the
Something
real...
digital really be real?
It's the real itty. It's not the fake itty.
Yeah. Stupid fake itties.
That's right. I never actually set up the sponsors today. Dang it! I knew that. I knew I didn't do things. I just man, am I even competent? The show is brought to you today by FreshBooks, KernelCare, and Pulseway. Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna jump right into our big topic today. The original sources are onontech.com and Investors Business Daily. Despite intense competition from ARM-based competitors and rival chipmaker AMD, Intel has beaten its Q4 2020 targets with record revenue. I mean, there's one good thing about putting the bean counters in charge. Am I right? Record revenue.
I mean, another way of looking at this is there's certain companies that benefit from pandemics.
Well, that's another way of thinking about it. But yet another way of thinking about it is that there are certain companies that are experts when it comes to milking 14 nanometer, squeezing blood from a stone. That's what Intel is the master of. So Intel beat its Q4 2020 targets, and the star of the show was the Client Computing Group, which is your Core i7s, your Core i9s, which benefited from increased demand that the pandemic has placed on computer sales,
yes.
as Luke might have mentioned before. There's a bit of a catch, though. These numbers were leaked, forcing Intel to release its earnings report early. Intel blamed the leak on a hack, which caused their stock to drop by 4% to as much as 9%, erasing a 7% increase from yesterday. But then, hold on a second, why did the stock go up yesterday? And this is where the headline of today's WAN show comes from.
Very exciting.
Intel made a very interesting recent hire. So they've got a new CEO with, thankfully, an engineering background. So this is Pat Gelsinger, and instead of an accounting background, which is just wonderful. And apparently, at the request of CEO Pat Gelsinger, Glenn Hinton has come back to Intel. So this is not like a new hire in the sense that you go to the store and buy new shoes. This is a new hire in the sense that you have old shoes that you've worn for 35 years and you really like them, but they were retired and then now you're wearing them again. Yeah. So
it's those shoes in the closet that you refuse to get rid of, and then one day you're like, you know what? I'm gonna crack them back out.
You know what? All the other shoes, every other shoe in the market, those Yeezys, they ain't got nothing on my 35-year-old hiking boots. You know, this is the workhorse shoe. So Glenn Hinton worked on a couple of projects that you've probably never heard of before. There was the Pentium Pro. Okay. The Pentium 2, Pentium 3. I mean, I barely even heard of them. And I've been into computers my whole life. What's Pentium? What's even Pentium? Is it like Penthouse? Is it like sexy computers, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Worked on the i960CA, the first superscalar RISC processor. Nehalem. You ever heard of Nehalem, Luke? I mean,
Isn't that like isn't that a Doom guy level?
what's a Nehalem? I think it's a small area of Oregon, USA. I think is that a county? It's a city. Wow, that really barely qualifies as a city. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Sports Camp number 8.
There's like a few streets.
It's like bigger than Nehalem, Oregon. No offense if you're from Nehalem. Just kidding. I know nobody from Nehalem is actually watching because there's like apparently 6 people. Yes. The population was 271 people in 2010, and they probably don't have internet anyway. So I think we're good here on not upsetting the people of Nehalem too badly. Either way, the point is, okay, a lot of you might not have actually heard of Nehalem, but Nehalem was the code name for what was pretty much like the beginning of the modern high-end desktop Core series processor. So that was on LGA 1366. That was let me have a look here. I think Bloomfield was technically a Bloomfield. Hold on a second. Yeah, Bloomfield. Okay, Control F, Nehalem. Yeah. Okay. So Bloomfield is just like the socket-specific code name for high-end desktop, and then Nehalem was the same microarchitecture that was used for Bloomfield, Linfield, and Clarksfield. So Linfield and Clarksfield were LGA 1156, so that was the consumer platform. Sorry, this has been a long time, guys. You gotta forgive me here. And then Nehalem was like the big man. Like Nehalem was like, man, you gotta flush that thing like 3 or 4 times. It had triple channel memory, which is like a big deal at the time. It had up to 6 cores. 6 cores on the Extreme Edition. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I think it was Gulftown that actually... Gulftown. Don't quote me on that. Gulftown Intel. No, that was Westmere. I'm sorry. We had to wait until... But whatever. The point was, Nehalem set the stage for a totally different level of desktop computer performance. And Mr. Glenn Hinton might have worked on that. He owns more than 90 patents from 8 CPU designs over his career, and he's retired. On social media, Hinton says he will be leaving retirement to work on an exciting high-performance CPU project, saying, quote, "If it wasn't a fun project, I wouldn't have come back. As you know, retirement is pretty darn nice." So I'm excited because here's the thing. I mean, okay. I feel like I remember seeing people in the community talking about when, oh shoot, sorry. Talking about, yes, okay. I remember seeing people in the community talking about when Jim Keller went back to AMD. It's like, I don't know, maybe Jim Keller's best ideas are behind him or something like that. Turns out they sure as heck weren't. Just because Jim Keller was, over at Apple and Tesla for a little bit doesn't mean that he forgot how to make a CPU. And the thing about super smart people, because remember, guys, we're not talking about like, the kid in your high school that got the best grade on the math test or whatever. We're talking about super smart people here. I'm willing to bet that in the 10 years since Nehalem, and in the 15 years since K8, so Jim Keller actually had about a similar period of time. I'm willing to bet that super smart people have sat around and thought of some pretty super smart ideas that they just couldn't execute before or hadn't thought of.
And I wonder what would have happened if we took this angle or this other angle, etc.
Yeah, because the thing about anything is that there's always a way to improve it. Even something as simple as like a t-shirt. LTTstore.com. There's always ways to improve it. So here's something
store.com.
Here's something we didn't realize until we actually hired a fitment engineer. I think that's what the position is called. Anyway, she works here now. And we were like, okay, so we're working on our own t-shirt blanks instead of just buying American Apparel shirts and printing on them. And she was like, yeah, so one of the things that I realized about American Apparel's blanks is that the neck hole is identical for small, medium, and large. And there's a process called grading for shirts. I would think they would just call it sizing, because that's what it is. That's where you take a design and then you grade it, or you like size it up and size it down. And she's like, yeah, that's like not how you would typically do that, because someone who wears a large t-shirt probably has a bigger neck than somebody who wears a small t-shirt. It's just like, it's laziness basically. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. And that's why we have professionals who do this stuff. So even something as seemingly simple as a t-shirt, there's like infinite ways that you can continue to refine and continue to perfect it. Now let's talk about, a whole other several orders of magnitude more complicated project, like, I don't know, a computer processor. I'm sure they could come up with some woulda, coulda, shouldas from last time around, and I am extremely excited. Now, Anantech's Dr. Ian Cutress from Tech Potato suspects that it will be 3 to 5 years before this project bears any kind of fruit, and also suspects, and this is kind of obvious, thanks Ian, also suspects that this is not like a financially motivated move, because Intel's clearly making plenty of money. But what it seems like to me is that Intel has finally pulled their heads out of their collective butts, realized that if they actually sit there and actually do nothing, eventually someone will actually show up and compete with them. And that instead of just focusing on financials and balancing the balance sheet, which is a good thing, you can't even call it a balance sheet if it's not balanced.
Definitely.
That's stupid.
I think
it's
I
stupid.
want to interject for one quick second. I think sometimes when we talk
only
about
I talk on WAN show.
No, I think sometimes when we talk about the like an engineer should be leading this company type of thing.
Yes.
Some people think that we like don't think that finance or business or marketing or whatever people should be like involved at all. It's like, no, it's just we don't think those type of people should like lead the ship, should pilot the ship. Like they still need to be there, or else everything will crash and burn because you won't have any freaking money, which is extremely important.
So
just maybe not leading the ship. That's all.
The reason that, okay, so we got JRR Damon over on Twitch says, you say that, but they are massively increasing dividends instead of R&D spending. You know what? You don't necessarily need the biggest R&D budget if you have really smart people working on really cool projects that they're really passionate about. So I am not necessarily
I also don't think increasing dividends is the right move right now.
That's probably not the right move right now. But also another quick thing, they just hired the guy. What R&D spending are they supposed to do right now this second? Clearly the project is like not done. So give it a little bit of time. Give it a little bit of time. Anyway, the point when it comes to leadership, you need multiple perspectives. That's something that is so important. I remember I was reading an article about how amazing Tim Cook's leadership is because he forwarded an email internally only adding the word thoughts ? To like key members of the leadership team. And like how amazing and like visionary that style of leadership was. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's the most obvious thing ever. Pretty much every decision we make at Linus Media Group is handled about like that. And sometimes as CEO, I will say, thank you for your thoughts. We're actually going to do it this way. But unless you have multiple people giving input, you can't possibly hope to make the right decision every time. And if you do think that, you're basically an arrogant moron. Like that's all there is to it. I'm not afraid to say that. And I'm just like, what we need, because anyway, the point is, to be clear, I'm not saying that was a bad way to send an email. I'm saying, great job. You got to respect the members of your team, because if you don't, they can't do a good job for you. I'm just saying that I don't think that's that amazing. I mean, one of the reasons that LMG has worked so well from the beginning is you've got me with like the raw dragon energy. It's like, what, why can't we do that? I want to do that. Nothing else matters. We're just going to do it. Like I remember having a conversation with my uncle where he goes, what's your business plan? What are your projections? What's your forecast? And I'm like, forecast what? We have literally no revenue. What would I forecast? I'd just be pulling numbers out of my butt. if I'm going to pull things out of my butt, it should probably be videos so that I can upload them. So maybe I'll have some revenue, and we'll talk about a forecast.
We can forecast later.
Yeah, we'll talk about a forecast later. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And we would hire someone, or like I'd want to hire someone, and Yvonne will be like, okay, well, here's the numbers, and I'll be like, no, take your numbers, throw them in a fire. I've got this like gut feeling, that if we bring in this person, it'll pay for itself in this roundabout way, and I don't have numbers to back it up, but don't worry about it. And the thing is, like, you need both of those perspectives, because Yvonne has also pulled me back from the edge of making very poor financial decisions multiple times. And you need people who are grounded in reality to actually execute on a crazy vision. Like if I had the idea, I have an idea. Why don't we have an amazing studio? Okay, good job, Linus. Good idea. I'm sure every YouTuber, every Twitch personality ever was, like, oh man, I got a dope idea. What if I had a studio and it was like full of lights and we had cameras and we could have people to move the lights and operate the cameras. It'd be amazing.
Oh my God. What if we had a company?
But that's just an idea. Somebody has to actually find it, make it fit in the budget, and then actually pay for it. Make sure the company's cash flow, make sure that the paychecks, cash. I mean, Luke, do the paychecks always clear?
I think so.
8 years in, you literally don't even check, do you? Now that we have direct deposit?
I trust Yvonne, dude. I don't know.
When's the last time you checked your paycheck? Hey, Vaughn, I think we could probably stop paying Luke. I think he actually wouldn't notice. She's like, don't tempt me. No, she didn't say that.
Yeah, I think I did at like the beginning for really not that long, I think. And then eventually I was just like, it's going to be like, I remember one time, even when I was checking, I like didn't notice that there was some discrepancy, and Yvonne caught it and like told me about it and fixed it. And I was like, wow, yeah, I really don't need to check. I think it's going to be fine.
Yvonne doesn't do payroll anymore, right? Yeah, anyway. So I'm excited. Obviously it's going to take a long time for this to have any impact on something you can actually buy. But like, how freaking refreshing is it? And Anthony has a note in here. Can I just say that it's refreshing that the minds behind these chips are getting recognition rather than just Intel did it. AMD had Jim Keller for Arcade and Zen. Intel even had Keller as senior VP, but he quit in June over whether to outsource more production. I actually hadn't heard yet that was why he quit. I did not know that. Wow, that's oh man, Intel, come on. I'm like, to be clear, I'm not rooting for Intel because I think they have like, amazing business practices and a history of putting the consumer first every time. That is absolutely not what's happening here. I am always rooting for more competition in the CPU space. And whether you like it or not, when it comes to performance, Intel is the underdog right now. And that's great. Yep. But you don't want it to last forever. Don't imagine for a second that AMD is going to behave any differently. Part of it is it's just human nature. It's human nature. It's the capitalist system that we all are participating in, whether we like it or not. It just is what it is. If they sit there for long enough with no competitive challengers, they will get complacent. We already are seeing it with Ryzen 5000. They already increased prices. Did they have to? Probably not. Did they do it anyway? Sure. I mean, that's the free market, baby. Supply and demand. It's not like they can make enough of them anyway, so they might as well increase the price, right? And, for AMD, like if I'm just looking at it as like an enthusiast, I'm like, you know what? AMD, go for it. You could probably use the money. So you can go buy like an interconnectivity vendor. I forgot who they buy, Altera or something. I can't remember what company they bought. AMD buys Xilinx? Is that the one? Why did I say Altera? Yeah, Xilinx. Yeah. Go buy some stuff. Make sure you stay competitive because I need that competition to be ongoing. But that doesn't mean that I want Intel to go 10 years without, releasing products that are like, bulldozer grade. That was a rough time when there was only one CPU vendor because, You got to remember, competition's good for not just me personally as an enthusiast, it's good for my business. Like if I can have AMD and Intel bidding against each other for like who wants to market their CPUs the hardest because, you know, the performance is close, so it all comes down to marketing. Hey, I win, just saying. You know, that's why I say, I remember, I forget when it was. I did a video about this a while back, but that's why I always say, guys, you got to look at whoever's talking to you. You got to look at whatever motivation they have. For me, I'm pretty transparent. I am highly motivated by succeeding in my business and by being a computer nerd. You can pretty much explain most of my actions by those two things. And the bottom line is, you know, for my business, I cannot screw with you guys because my business doesn't exist without you. And as a computer nerd, I can't screw with you guys because I've been helping people pick the right parts for their computers since before anybody even gave me a paycheck for it. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm not all about my business growing and making money and continuing to offer career development opportunities for the people who have hitched their carts to my horse. So I am all about it being absolutely cutthroat in the computer industry. I love it. I want the most brutal competition possible because it's good for me in every possible way. Everything that motivates me, I win if there's intense competition. And so do you, by the way.
Do you think this is the first major move? And I know they have made many moves, so I'm using major quite specifically. Do you think this is the first actual major move that they've made to combat AMD?
No. What I suspect is that, because I mean, I've already seen other things. I mean, those cryo coolers, maybe they're a clumsier effort to combat AMD, but they're really cool. Do you know the details of them?
Does it seem major though?
No. Okay. What's major about that is that project is crazy. It makes no sense.
So kind of like counterculture to what they've been doing for a long time.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with that. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
So it's like, it's not the fire, but it smells like smoke. You know what I mean? There's a fire under Intel's butt, and I can smell the Intel butt smoke, fire smoke. And those kinds of projects, those kinds of like, yeah, we took some smart people and we locked them in a room and we said, go make some crazy stuff. And they came back and they were like, here's our crazy stuff. And we were like, green light, let's go. That is an attitude shift that we needed to see from them and that I believe is actually happening. They have lost some key talent, no doubt. But the thing about key talent is that it attracts key talent. You know, okay, think about it this way. We have people on our team at Linus Media Group that members of our community admire. If we didn't have people like, you know, an Alex or Anthony or Jake or Riley or James, like if we didn't have this team that is already perceived as like superstars, then the quality of our applicants whenever we put out a job posting, I guarantee you is lower because we have people talk about how exciting it would be to work shoulder to shoulder with these guys. So it's a snowball effect. The more you can bring on talented team members, the more other like smart talented team members, the more other smart talented people are going to be like, gee, there must be something to this. You know what?
I had so much of your life working. You should probably want to. You would probably aspire to try to be in an environment that would inspire and drive you forward, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be the type of stuff that you're going to try to push for.
Exactly. That's why a brain drain is something that is not easy to stop. It's not something you can just throw more money at. It's not that simple. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping for a big comeback here because I want to see competition for all the various reasons that I love it. And I think it's time to move on to our next topic. Google has threatened to pull out of Australia over the new link tax laws. Luke, do you want to run us through this one? I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry.
All right. Big tech firms have been facing increased calls for regulations as profits soar, and Australia is looking to be the first to step up to the plate. We've been talking about this type of stuff for a long time now, but it's been kind of hit or miss in how it's going to be implemented. And I think one of the big reasons for that is because of the massive variance in terms of companies that operate on the internet. There's your Googles, there's your Facebooks, but then there's also your, your Floatplanes and your other stuff.
There can only be one Floatplane.
Yes. Australia's link tax law would make Google, Facebook, and other companies pay media outlets for linking to their news content. Very interesting. Google and others in the industry have said the law would be unworkable and leave them with no other choice but to leave the country. Australian lawmakers respond by accusing Google of blackmail with PM... I didn't actually see that coming, with Prime Minister Scott Morrison saying they would not yield to threats. Wow. Interesting. I guess leaving the country is a threat.
I mean, kinda.
Is PIA a sponsor of this stream?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Well, they are now. You can, if this becomes a thing and Google pulls out, you could use PIA and still use Google.
Yeah.
Australian newspaper revenues have been dropping steadily since the late 2000s. That you could probably, I would assume, put any country at the beginning of that sentence, and it would probably be true. Australia sees financial support for its news industry as vital to democracy. If the law passes,
fair point.
Probably in a lot of ways, yeah.
Yep.
Because the more news outlets go under, the more it's going to simmer down to less sources of information, if that makes sense. You're going to have less potential views on a topic, which is not good. You want more reviewers, whether it's news articles or
more perspectives is healthy.
Yes. According to lawmakers, news accounts for 1/8 of Google searches in Australia. While Australia isn't Google's largest market by a pretty massive amount, I would say, Google is fearful for what precedent this might set. And that's pretty legit, because I'm sure other countries are going to look at how effective this ends up being or doesn't end up being, especially places like the EU, which are very...
pretty regulation happy.
Pretty regulation happy and pretty on the forefront of digital regulation, I would say. Which a lot of countries are still not necessarily stepping in on. Last week, Google piloted a program blocking news sites from search results for 1% of Australians to test the value of Australian news services. Ugh.
Ouch. Dang.
Yeah. What a way to put it.
That's savage.
Both Google and Facebook argue that news organizations get the benefit of their platforms driving readers to their websites. They report that the comparative revenue is tiny. Google says just 7.7 million out of 3.7 billion total in Australia over 2019. Geez. James has a take on this. He says this will only lead to information siloing, where Facebook will introduce a search engine to search for news uploaded to Facebook, evading the tax, similar to how people search on Amazon instead of shopping the web more broadly. Yikes. That actually makes sense.
This is pretty funny. This is James's take. I actually don't necessarily agree with it 100%. He says, also, just you news media. Do you know what it's like to post something and get 0 traffic? It sucks. Consider yourself lucky. Okay, so I think he's still a little salty about getting banned on Twitter. Do you know about this? Do you hear about this?
I heard about it. I didn't know the details behind it, but I did hear about it.
Okay, so James...
I checked his Twitter page one day and was like, wait, what?
James tweeted at Colton because they were kind of sniping back and forth on Twitter about something. He was just like, I'll kill you. And Twitter flagged it as like a death threat and suspended his account. And he has since reached out to Twitter and been like, hey, that guy is my friend and colleague. I wasn't actually threatening to kill him. Obviously this was flagged by a bot. Can we please fix this? I'm like, I won't do that again, but yeah, can we please fix this? No response. Get this. James follows up and is like, hey, I sent in a ticket about this. Can we please have a human review it? Because as soon as a human looks at it, I think it'll be pretty clear that this is like my bud and I was just messing around with them. Someone got back to him and was like, hey, we haven't reviewed your original ticket yet. Like an actual human replied to his follow-up ticket just to tell him that no one had replied to his original ticket. It's like, right. Since you're looking at it, why don't you just look at it and then just fix it so that I don't have to send another ticket? Because it's like, it's non-trivial, right? Like, I think he's got like 30, 40,000 followers. So it's not like it's just simple to, whatever, I'll just create a new handle or whatever.
Make a new account and send the handle to all my friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's an actual public figure. So you'd think you guys would care a little bit. And since you're looking at it anyway, why not just fix it immediately? It's like, it's kind of like picking up something on the dining room table and moving it to the counter. You're just gonna have to pick it up and put it in the dishwasher again. Why don't you just put it in the dishwasher? My wife said to me, because she's making a face. I definitely do that. And that doesn't change. The fact that I do it doesn't change that it's stupid. It is stupid. But I just mean, I'm not being paid to put dishes in the dishwasher, okay? Twitter's customer support person is presumably being paid. And, you could argue that I do receive, benefits from helping out around the house and, being a good husband. You could say that. See, she's nodding. She's nodding. She's like, yeah, totally. You get benefits for that. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's the kind of exchange, we have. It's like the man makes the money and the woman has her.
Wow.
You wouldn't, I've seen how far I can push this. You wouldn't believe the looks I'm getting right now. Love you, honey.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow. I feel like you should go on a story of your earlier dating.
Yeah. When she was the one who made literally all the money, and I was the college dropout that was living at her parents' house.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And today's WAN show is brought to you by, are we wrapped up with that topic?
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. Okay. So
a lot of it's speculative. We'll see if it actually happens. And if it does happen, we'll see if Google actually pulls out. And if Google actually pulls out, we'll see how well that goes.
See how pregnant Australia ends up being.
Yeah.
Will Google pay child support? I don't know.
I suspect not.
The show is brought to you today by KernelCare. KernelCare Enterprise provides you with more integration, support, and control over your server. It's a live patching tool that integrates with automation tools and vulnerability scanners, supports the latest patches, lets you decide what patches are rolled out across your organization, and even runs inside the firewall. It works in your local infrastructure via ePortal, a dedicated patch server that runs internally but outside of your firewall. This acts as a bridge between internal patch servers and the main KernelCare patch server. This approach is ideal for staging and production environments that need strict isolation from external networks or require more stringent control over the patches to be applied. It's available for all major Linux distributions, and guess what? You can try out KernelCare Enterprise for free at the link in the video description. My read was a little bit, I love this like super tux thing they got going up in there. All right, let's go ahead and, hey, look at that. It's done. I'm gonna remove that. And the show is also brought to you by FreshBooks. Oh, yeah. FreshBooks is the easy-to-use accounting software designed with you in mind, the small business owner. FreshBooks has everything you need to manage your books, invoices, expenses, time tracking, and more. And it's designed to be easy to use. That's right, it's designed for people who know how to do a thing, but are not necessarily an accounting whiz kid. You know what I mean? So it's got built-in automation, meaning you can spend less time invoicing and expensing and tracking your projects and more time doing what matters most, growing your business. With FreshBooks, whether you're a tradesperson, creative agency, or a YouTuber, you can choose the plan that is right for you. They have an award-winning Toronto-based support team that's always happy to help if you need it, and you don't have to take my word for any of this. You can try it out for free for 30 days with no credit card required at freshbooks.com/WAN. Finally, the show is brought to you today by Pulseway. That's right, it's the way to pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It's the real-time monitoring and management software that allows you to manage systems and support users from anywhere, even from your phone. That's right. It's compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it allows you to fix problems on the go by sending commands from any mobile device. It gives you remote desktop functionality. You can get access to real-time status, system resources, logged-in users, network performance, Windows updates, and more. And you can even create, deploy, and automate custom scripts so that your IT tasks will never be easier. Well, no, they will be easier. They'll be much easier. That's what I meant to say. You can scan, install, and update all your systems on the go, and you can try it for free at pulseway.com or through our link in the video description. The show is also brought to you by LTTstore.com. It's not actually, but we do have some big news. Guess what, Luke?
What?
Guess what?
What?
We brought a sexy back, baby. We finally have underwear in stock again. Our new supplier has come through and delivered underwear. They're stealthier than ever before. Got just like a kind of a black rubber LTT on the waistband. We've got a few new designs, so like a more constellation inspired one, a more like looks kind of like matrix lines of binary kind of thing going on, and then a completely stealth all black are included in the new pack. And this is on top of our crew neck sweater being back in stock. And then I think there was something else I was supposed to tell you guys about. Now hold on just a minute here.
I don't know how Twitch's terms of service are right now, but I'm currently wearing those more constellation-y looking ones.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you like the new ones?
Good. I like them. Yeah. I like the I don't know how to describe it. The kind of like tactile logos along the band.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's like they have this type of feature in dress pants where it will like hold on to your clothes better.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. I was looking for a thing and I think I just found it.
No worries.
Whoa, hey, what's this?
My.
What's this you got there? What's that? Is that a special edition Holofoil shirt? You gotta be kidding me. It is.
Wait, where?
Pretty sick. The GPU shirt.
Oh, I guess the stream is probably okay.
Stream's probably a little delayed. So guys, now's a pretty good time to go check out LTTstore.com. Get some underwear, get a shirt. It's gonna be all good in the hood. Speaking of all good, NVIDIA is, well, there's something. Earlier this week, NVIDIA began changing some of the messaging around Max-Q. We've actually got a full video coming about this, so I'm not going to get into all the detail because there are certain time-related restrictions that affect how much information I can give you. You know what? Actually, this is really easy. I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to smile, and Luke is going to read this one because I am under NDA.
Nice. I like it.
Luke doesn't know anything. I mean, okay, that's harsh. Luke knows lots of things. He doesn't know anything about this. He just knows what he's reading from Ceph Digital on the forum and PC Gamer. Okay, go ahead, Luke.
Digital and PC Gamer. Earlier this week, NVIDIA began changing some of the messaging around Max-Q, planning to drop the GPU differentiating moniker for the upcoming RTX 30 GPUs for laptops. They stated that Max-Q has grown beyond only GPU optimizations. Oh, wow, so impressive. This led to speculation that NVIDIA was killing the Max-Q branding. But an NVIDIA rep told PC Gamer that the Max-Q branding is not going away. Okay. An NVIDIA statement reads, when we originally introduced Max-Q back in 2017, the brand was initially used in GPU naming since Max-Q referred to the GPU TGP only. Today, third generation Max-Q is broader and is a holistic set of platform technologies and design approach to building powerful and thin laptops.
What the heck does that even mean? What does a holistic set of platform technologies and design approach to building powerful and thin laptops mean? Holistic set of platform technologies. So for those of you not following some of the lingo here, TGP is total graphics power. So that's how much of the total power budget of the laptop is allocated to the graphics card. But then it's a little more complicated than that, which the full video will touch on. And it's also, it's like what your cooling system would have to be able to handle. Okay, so go ahead, Luke. Yeah, I'm not supposed to say anything. Shut up.
NVIDIA is putting the onus on OEMs to properly advertise their laptops' features moving forward. Okay. This means that it's going to be up to end users to do the research to compare between options. OEMs may choose to adhere to NVIDIA's Max-Q guidelines or not. So the brand isn't technically dead. It may just be dying slowly. Max-Q and Max-P were perfectly good ways to distinguish the capabilities of laptop GPUs. This muddles the water for people comparing laptops, as one RTX 360 can be a completely different spec than the next 360. Interestingly, Max-P isn't actually an official term coined by NVIDIA. The community just started using the name for NVIDIA's full power mobile GPUs.
Now, the first time I heard it was not from the community. I actually heard it first from laptop makers. So I think it might originate more there, but it's hard to say exactly where it came from. It's just that, Max-Q originally was more than just like a GPU with a lower TDP, or TGP, excuse me. Max-Q was like a requirement. It had to be no louder than a certain amount, no thicker than a certain amount, and it had to offer performance over a certain amount. So yes, the Max-Q product was the GPU, like the binned GPU that went in there to make that possible. But Max-Q was like a bigger, like it has an official blog post on NVIDIA.com. Max-P, even though I have heard NVIDIA staff use the term because it's so stupid they don't have a term for it. Because like, what are you supposed to call it? Just like RTX 30, RTX 30 Max-Q? Well, what is RTX 30? Is it the desktop one? Is it the mobile one? We don't know because they're just both called the same thing. Like, come on, who do you think you are, Apple? Just calling everything the same thing?
And they've had so many differences over the last few years in terms of like how they're treating mobile GPUs and how equivalent mobile GPUs are to desktop GPUs and stuff. That having like better differentiation would be good. The reason why I was excited about this at first was because I knew Max-P was kind of a muddy term. Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe they're like moving on and like using something more properly defined. But no, it seems like they're moving on and using something less properly defined.
And
not great.
I will say this much. It gets much worse. Don't miss the video.
Oh boy.
It gets way more complicated. I'm not saying, whether RTX 30 is a good or a bad product. It has nothing to do with that at all. I'm just saying it's complicated. It's going to be complicated.
Well, I don't have any more information, so I think you guys will just have to tune in again later on that more specific video.
In other news, the Raspberry Pi Foundation launches a $4 Pi Pico. $4. How do you make a computer for $4?
So epic.
I don't even understand it. No, you can't even get like the socket of an Epic motherboard for $4.
Yeah, fair.
So the Pi Pico is the first in-house designed microcontroller from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Typically, hobbyists will pair the Raspberry Pi with microcontrollers for real-world applications due to the Pi not being great at low-latency I/O interfacing. Like all Raspberry's devices, the Pico has extensive documentation aimed at both experienced power users and new tinkerers, and features an in-house designed RP2040 processor built on a 40-nanometer process. It's got dual ARM Cortex M0 Pluses clocked at 133 megahertz, 264 kilobytes of embedded memory with support for up to 16 megs of off-chip flash memory, a USB 1.1 controller. Okay, so it's not cutting edge. More nerd specs are listed on the blog post. Actually, I'm very curious. I'm headed for the nerd specs. Look at this thing. Holy smokes, it is tiny. Ooh, whoopsie daisy. Sorry about that, guys. It is flippin' tiny.
You gotta scroll a little bit to actually get to the Pi Pico.
Look at it. It's a tiny boy. It's like there's a little like display, like a little project display right next to it. That is sick. Okay, so here's some of these nerdy speeds and feeds. 30 GPIO pins, 4 of which can be used as analog inputs. Okay, that's pretty sweet. TV controller, 16 PWM channel, USB mass storage boot mode. Oh, okay, cool. So you can, yep, that makes sense. Cool.
A lot of people seem very interested in the analog inputs, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
that's a big deal.
Something I would point out with something like this is like, yeah, a lot of the modern computing that we do, especially in like the RAM department, I would say, has kind of ballooned a lot. And like what you're going to do on a computer or a laptop or a phone, et cetera, is going to be very heavy. But the things that you can use computers like this for, like you read out those specs and you're like, oh, that sucks. But it still has USB functionality at all, which is actually extremely useful if you're doing more specialized, smaller tasks. Like doing basic things hasn't necessarily gotten more difficult, especially if you're like developing specifically for it, or if it's something very specific that you're going to have it always
You want an auto waterer for your like plants.
It doesn't need more than
you
this.
Don't need a Xeon, you know? It's okay. You're good. You're good. So
like 133 megahertz and a USB 1.1 controller and 264 kilobits of embedded memory is probably completely fine for like.
There you go. You heard it here first. You heard it. This is the next famous quote. What was it? 256 kilobit. Well, it ought to be enough for anyone. Luke Lafreniere, 2021.
There's a ton of projects that you can accomplish with that much, and you don't necessarily need more. And I think the art of accomplishing as much as you can with what you have has kind of died a little bit. Like I remember watching.
Just say min-maxing, Luke. You know you want to.
The min-maxing your hardware has died a little bit. I know, like watching gaming documentaries from a long time ago, watching game developers talk about like min-maxing the position of data on a disk.
Yep. Oh yeah, like, for sure. So that the head is more likely to be closer to, you know, that part of the actual disk itself, so that the next data it needs is like right in line. Like
that stuff is crazy, and it was actually something that people did, and like you had to really fight a lot to fit within these crazy confines. And yes, that is still a thing. Consoles are I'm not trying to drag on consoles, but consoles are a more measured metric. Like you know more what you're dealing with, but we don't really see that many crisis style games come out anymore. I think it's much less common for a game to come out and everyone that wants that game to go rush out and do massive computer upgrades so they can actually play it. Like I genuinely know people that are running processors that are like 9 to 10 generations old that are still running new modern titles just fine.
Now,
that's crazy.
To be clear, it's like more of a microcontroller than like an actual computer. Like you wouldn't go load up Raspbian on this even. Like that's
no. But what I'm saying is you can still accomplish a lot with it.
Absolutely.
And it's cool that, I don't know, I like the idea of working with those confines and being able to accomplish great things anyways.
It seems like the entire YouTube chat has no idea what a live stream is. It's kind of amazing. Twitch chat and Floatplane are both just like, yes, we understand what's going on. Entire YouTube chat is like, disliked due to clickbait. We talked about that topic an hour ago. It's a live stream. It was literally the first thing we talked about. Lordy. It's not the entire video. It's the WAN show. It's in the title. Oh man, after all these years. I mean, how long have we been doing the WAN show, Luke? Like 7 years or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Come on, people. Help me out. LMG's at 8 years now, yeah.
Jeez.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Speaking of LMG being at 8 years, we still have job listings up for our full-time bookkeeper / accountant, whatever we end up with, full-time video editor / camera op. Floatplane has a full-time developer and web design contractor position up on linusmediagroup.com, just because we get a little bit more traffic there. Do you want to talk about the developer position just a little bit, since we've got all these people watching?
Yeah, the developer position is somewhat generalized. You will probably end up working on a wide variety of things, as we are a small team, and that just kind of happens when you are among a small team. But you will likely be focused, your main job will be developing, implementing, researching, etc., features or implementing currently existing features from tools available on the Shopify store for LTTstore.com. We are specifically looking for someone to dedicate to that. So experience working with Shopify, experience working with e-commerce platforms, experience working with JavaScript, et cetera, is all very sought after for that position. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to go to the form, enter your information, and apply. And the designer position is for just like the websites that we kind of overlook in general. So Floatplane.com, LTTstore.com, potentially other jobs. It's not a full-time position. It would be job by job. So it is remote. We are able to hire from kind of wherever's for that because it is very job by job specific. Canadian would be a plus, but it is remote. And yeah, that's about it.
Sweet. Got a couple more job postings here as well. We need a full-time junior design / manufacturing engineer and a full-time retail product and inventory manager. Apply at linusmediagroup.com. I think we got at least one more topic to talk through here. This is pretty sweet. Video Cards did an article on the VIK-on YT. Is that what this channel is actually called?
Здорово, парни.
Oh, lordy, this is...
Сегодня у нас с вами будет очередное видео про модификацию памяти на видеокартах, но сегодня будем говорить про...
Okay, that is Russian AF. I absolutely love it. At least I hope that's Russian. It could be another sort of whatever those types of languages are called with the
Cyrillic?
Yeah, Cyrillic characters. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, the YouTuber successfully modified an RTX 2070 to have 16 gigs of VRAM instead of the standard 8. After accessing leaked NVIDIA PCB diagrams for the 2080 SKU, he replaced the old Micron models with Samsung modules and then changed the resistors into a different binary code for the RAM CFG jumpers. The modified card works and actually registers successfully as 16 gigs VRAM. However, there was a significant performance loss, at least in 3D Mark TimeSpy. So the average 2070 score is 9,100 points, and his 16 gig card got 6,100 points. So it's a little significant there, and it's unstable and quickly fails in Furmark. But similar modifications can apparently be made to a few other NVIDIA GPUs to double the standard VRAM. The 1050 and 1050 Ti can go from 2 to 4 gigs. The 1060 can go from 3 to 6 gigs. And it should be noted this does not work with the 1070, 1080, or 1080 Ti. If you want to modify your own 2070 because you like voided warranties and worse performance and instability, Samsung's 16 gig GDDR6 modules can be found on AliExpress for roughly $200 US. That is to say 16 gigs worth of Samsung GDDR6 modules. I think that card has 8 chips, so it would be 2 gigabytes per module. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Fascinating. Twitter accused of profiting from child pornography. James posted this. I wonder if he has a bone to pick with Twitter. No, I'm just kidding, James. A minor boy and his mother are suing Twitter, alleging that it benefited from and neglected to remove an exploitative video featuring him and another minor, which was retweeted thousands of times and has at least 167,000 views on the platform. The lawsuit claims that the minor and mother repeatedly contacted Twitter about the content, but Twitter allegedly didn't suspend accounts distributing it until a federal agent from the Department of Homeland Security intervened.
Good that they banned James, though.
Yeah. According to the filing, one or multiple traffickers tricked the boy into providing explicit images to a Snapchat account he was led to believe belonged to a 16-year-old girl. After obtaining the explicit content, the traffickers allegedly blackmailed the boy into providing the video that ultimately spread on Twitter. A Twitter spokesperson told Fox News, Twitter has a zero-tolerance policy for any materials that feature or promote child sexual exploitation. We aggressively fight online child sex abuse and have heavily invested in technology and tools to enforce our policy. Okay.
Apparently not enough.
The filing also details communication between John Doe, his mother, and Twitter. One email shows Twitter telling, this is the boy, that on January 28th that it reviewed the content and didn't find any violation of our policies, so no action will be taken at this time. What do you mean you don't see a problem? The miner asks in response that same day. We are both minors right now, and we're minors at the time these videos were taken. We both were 13 years of age. Wow.
What did the video... What was it?
I mean, I'm not going to go watch it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Want to either. But like, if they're saying it didn't, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that's like, if I
definitely don't want to see it.
Yeah, I definitely don't want it in my internet history if it actually is 13-year-olds, you know, doing explicit stuff on video.
Yeah.
So there you go. Good luck, John Doe boy and mother in your campaign here, because if that went down the way that you say it went down, that is super A+, not okay.
I feel like for Twitter, the safer way to deal with a situation like this would just be to, at the very least, temporarily pull it down while you evaluate.
You would think that.
I'm sure that could lead to bad situations where people are like using your automated tools to censor things and whatnot. But I feel like that would be a better result, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the problem is that once Twitter pulls something, they evidently don't have any way to restore it, like James's account.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
One side note thing.
Yeah.
People are saying that the link for the designer job doesn't work. This happened with another one of the job postings as well. I don't know why. If you click on it, it doesn't work. But if you copy paste it, it does. I think there's something weird going on with the Squarespace link thingy. So yeah, just copy paste it for now. I think there's some way that Colton was able to fix the previous one, so I've messaged him, and I'm sure he'll look into this one.
Shoot, I just emailed him. Well, it's too late. Sweet. We've got some super chats. It's not too late for those. That's freaking awesome. I don't know why people send them, but they do. Akash says, Kirk or Picard? I need to know. Luke, help me out here. Kirk or Picard? Skywalker.
Star Wars?
We both did it. I want a real answer, Luke. Don't even give me that. I won't take it. Won't take no Ray.
Have you watched much?
I mean, I watched. I've probably seen a solid 1/20th of the episodes of each series. So I've seen like probably, well, okay, no, I've probably seen more than that, because I think there actually weren't that many episodes of the original Star Trek. I was a kid though, so I haven't watched it since then. I do definitely like know enough about the show just because I have my eyes open and my ears not buried in sand. So like I get the jokes, you know, like the red shirts and the, you know, the many emotions of Spock, you know, poster where he's just like, and I know that that's actually not Spock because he does have emotions. It's whole part of his whole characters. He has this like this mix of like logic and emotion, his human and Vulcan sides, blah blah blah. Like I know like kind of enough to get by, but I wouldn't consider myself a Trekkie by any stretch of the imagination. I definitely watched more, like by numbers, more episodes of The Next Generation. I remember thinking when I was a kid that Dr. Crusher was probably called Dr. Crusher because you were supposed to, you know, think she was pretty sweet. Actually wonder if maybe my tastes were very strange as a kid. I don't even know what she looks like anymore.
Very limited amount that I have seen, I would probably say Picard.
You'd say Picard?
I think so.
Okay, well, there's your answer, ladies and gentlemen.
But I have seen very, very little and have never pursued it at all because there's so much Star Wars content to consume and I like it a lot. So I just do that.
Do you still like it? It keeps beating you and you keep coming back to it.
I just keep going back to older stuff.
What older stuff?
So much expanded universe stuff.
Oh, just like books. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right. Yeah, there was a time when Star Wars was good. Robert Mail says, took a bit, but the whole house has good Wi-Fi. On the other hand, choosing a bidet like James suggested has been a bit of an experience. Never thought fancifying my toilet would be one of the toughest decisions. And expensive too. Okay. Dalsim says, Luke, what changes have you made to Floatplane? Live streaming in Australia is working amazing now. It used to stutter heaps.
When?
Well, I don't know, do I?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
There's been lots of changes made. There's been lots of changes made to live streaming. There's been lots of changes made to everything else. It just depends on what your timeline is.
Alex and Simba says, Luke, please convince Linus to do a haptic gaming vest video part 2. There are lots more products now in the market. Okay, do you even use your VR setup? I gotta know.
I do sometimes.
Are you even an enthusiast anymore, Luke?
My area is very bad. In order to properly use my setup, I would have to move a very large amount of furniture. And even then, it wouldn't be great. And at the previous place I was at, if I put my hands over my head, I would punch the ceiling. That is no longer a problem here. Here I can't move. I can't go in any direction, which is just like a different problem.
Are we ready to tell people where you lived at your previous place yet? Like, is it far enough removed that we can be like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything.
All right, where did you live previously, Luke?
I used to live below the office. It's, some people knew that. There was a few community members that knew that, and for literally years, and I will always appreciate this and owe them for this. Just ran with, like, there was a small group of them that all had this constant conversation going on to help deflect and push people away from the idea that I did live there.
Yeah,
because they all knew that, but they used that information to like drive this thing that I didn't.
He totally
I lived below the office. It was fantastic. My commute was walking up the stairs.
Sometimes he didn't make it.
Yeah. It was really interesting whenever I'd be sick, because I'd be like laying in bed listening to Linus record videos upstairs.
We had lots of problems with dishes. People would actually go down into Luke's basement suite, take his dishes, use them, leave them in the upstairs sink, and then like just not acknowledge that they did it. Like, there's a reason. There's a Channel Super Fun video about like finding the dishes thief or whatever. But like, there's so much more that went on behind the scenes that you guys don't know about, that led up to that being something that was like such a big issue. We made a video about it, and like, it's that much of an inside joke.
It was such a weird problem too, because like I would not have minded at all if people used my stuff, but like to go down into my space and just take my things and then
leave them dirty.
It's like, what are you doing? I don't know. I don't understand.
And there were so few people at the company at the time that it's like, who do you think you're fooling?
Like, there's like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, I know it wasn't me. I'm pretty sure it wasn't him, because if it was him, it would just be at his desk. He wouldn't bother to dump it in the sink.
Yeah, or like downstairs in the actual sink.
Yeah, in his sink. We had 2 sinks, obviously. And then one of the other funny ones for me is that like Luke's house, you know, right, was the only place, once we grew a little bit more, it was the only place in the building that we had like sort of a private meeting room. So the first year that we did like annual employee reviews, I was like, so Luke, can we do this in your like living room? And he's like, I guess, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's your house, I guess. So I'm sitting in Luke's living room, under my office, in my house, giving Luke his like annual employee performance review, which we've never done before, because it seemed like, you know, like such a formal thing, and we'd always just been like kind of like broing out and making videos about tech up till that point. And I'm just like, I think I probably opened it up with like, this is the most awkward thing that I've ever had to do.
Yeah, that was an interesting time.
Oh man. All right, what else we got?
It was pretty useful too, though, because like there would be certain things. Like I remember we wanted to do an ambient sound test of something.
Yeah.
So that was like way easier, because I just waited until everyone was gone, and then just like went and set up the test, and then went downstairs, and just like did whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter that like, oh, I need to go check it in like half an hour or something, because like it takes me seconds to go upstairs. Like it's really not a big deal. But yeah, it was kind of helpful.
He was our built-in security guard too. Because
Yep,
I'm pretty sure Luke would have bashed in the skull of someone who tried to take like my CPUs.
probably.
I'm glad it never happened, because like
Yeah.
Canada's got some pretty messed up laws around like defending your own property. It's pretty stupid.
Or yourself
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
pretty
those
dumb.
are even. Yeah.
Okay, what else we got going on here? Blah 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 blah.
Oh, this was when Luke was full freeloader. Oh yeah, it was real cheap.
Well, it was a symbiotic relationship, right? Right, because like giving him a benefit in terms of rent makes his life more affordable, which makes it so that he doesn't just like need more salary. Like if I was like, Luke, you can't live here, he's going to be like, well, to maintain the same standard of living that I enjoy, you should probably pay me X amount more. Like he's that kind of person, trust me. And and aside from that, the benefit to me of having him there at the office is that whenever I can't get in touch with him, I know where he lives. No, I'm just kidding. The benefit to me is like actually having him on site was really, really useful. I slept better at night knowing that like Luke was there. I mean, he's a pretty deep sleeper actually. So if someone did break in, it's very likely that he wouldn't have noticed. But if he did notice, having him there,
I would definitely notice that.
oh yeah, that's true. If the alarm went off, you would have noticed that. But having Luke there was actually a huge benefit for the company and absolutely worth like the discount on rent. And he did pay rent. It's not like it was just a total freeloader situation. He did not pay enough rent. Yeah. So that was part of what helped Luke save up for that down payment, I'm pretty sure. Cheap rent.
Yeah.
Kinestic over on in the super chat says, wow, okay, you don't need to send, oh, okay, it's Australian dollars. I was like, wow, you don't need to send like $50, but it's like not real dollars. As an Aussie, most people are actually on Google's side. These laws are entirely driven by Murdoch Media, who owns about 70% of all Australian media. There's a good 7-minute video on the opening shots of this fight and sent a link, but I'm not going to click it because I'm on like my own stream right now. But apparently it's 7 minutes, so you should be able to find it. I think that is pretty much it for the WAN show today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. If you haven't already got one, you got to go to lttstore.com and you got to get the good LTT Store stuff. We got the new boxers. We got them. They're here. So we got the new boxers. We also got the absolutely sick, I think Sarah did a great job of the design for this one. Sick new GPU core shirt. So we're calling it Holofoil GPU core t-shirt. It's pretty sweet. It's very shiny, by the way. So
some people in the Floatplane chat are putting together certain events now that make more sense due to me having lived there.
That makes sense. What are you guys talking about?
One of them was they figured out the office like theft prank thing. They're like, oh, that makes way more sense now because like they're like, why would he have been there the day before? It's like, yeah, because we like robbed my house
because he lived there. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why when Nick Van Berkel at the time went to go like chase the thief or whatever, and he like ran downstairs, I like went to go follow him because I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to open this door. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's great. All right, love you guys. Floatplane chat. You guys are the real MVPs.
Dell update?
I don't have one. I haven't heard back yet. So it might be that this person was not able to put together the materials proving that they actually can prove what they said they can prove. So, all right, that's it. Outro time. Luke?
Yeah?
I said outro time.
Oh, I thought you ran it. I was waiting until after the outro to say bye. Bye! The stream's so far behind that like I can't really tell. See, now I get to see myself react to that now.
That's great.